and welcome back to another episode of What the Forensics. My name is Rebecca, and I am joined here again today by the wonderful Nicole and Journey. This week, Nicole is going to be telling us about the case of Douglas Garland and also going to be educating us on digital forensics, which I'm really excited for because we haven't really done like a crime and science together episode in a while. So, yeah,
Don't get your
get
hopes up,
excited.
I will say. Don't get your hopes up too much. I don't go too into it, but I do touch on it a little bit. I do
Well,
provide some information.
I'm still excited nonetheless. So,
Okay. Just wanted to
it'll be
preface.
good. It'll be great. Just a bit of housekeeping before we get started. If you can leave us some reviews or comments wherever you listen to our podcast, we love reading them. We love interacting with you guys. And we've been getting some more recently, which is super fun. Like, subscribe, and follow us wherever you can. It helps us grow and reach more people, and we would just really appreciate it. And also, please just remember that we do our best with our research for these episodes, but we are only human, so it is possible that we can make mistakes, and we're still actively learning as well. So we hope that you enjoy learning with us. And if we say something that you think is blatantly wrong and you know the answer to it, feel free to reach out and let us know, because I mean, again, we're always learning and we want to keep learning. So
Yeah.
with that said, before we get started, I just wanted to give a listener's discretion, as there is going to be discussion surrounding the torture and death of a child. With
Yep.
this said, Nicole, I would love for us to dive into this case.
Yeah. I will also add the caveat too. I think I've been thinking about it but haven't said it, but with the whole we do our best to research. When we started this in university, we also had a lot more resources available to us. What we're working with now is what's available to us kind of online and in our area. So the information we gather is kind of the information that's also available to the everyday person. So kind of keep that in mind too as we go about. We don't have any data scientists or people
We
with
no longer
paid
have academic
subscriptions.
resources.
Yeah. We have free science articles. That's about it now. That all being said, on June 29th, 2014, so this was just over 10 years ago, kind of going off of our last episode we just talked about too, about there being no big kind of information on killers or whatnot in the last 2010, 2020s. I guess you would kind of fall into that, or this case would, but it's not like a serial killer case, just a gruesome spoiler kind of crime. That being said, on June 29th, 2014, Jennifer O'Brien brought her two sons, Nathan and Max, also known as Maximus, to their grandparents' house. This was Alvin and Catherine Lickness, and they were going to have a dinner and a sleepover together. So Alvin and Catherine, they had just hosted a couple days kind of prior, over a couple of days, a quote unquote estate sale. They were going to be moving about 3.5 hours northwest ish from Calgary, Alberta. And they had just bought a new home that they were going to spend their retirement at in the summers. And then in the winters, they were going to go live in Mexico or spend their time in a condo they owned in Mexico. They had just bought a home there. So this estate sale was basically like selling all of the furniture and stuff that they didn't really need for this new home. They were downsizing, it sounded like. So they were selling a bunch of their items and then moving, I want to say within a couple of days. But that day, I guess, 5-year-old Nathan, he was said to have been given the option of either visiting the zoo or spending time with his grandparents. And so he ultimately chose the latter because they were moving and he just wanted to spend time with them beforehand. And once we kind of learn more, this does become a bit of a sad choice, but it is happy in this time that he wanted to spend time with his grandparents. So that evening, his younger brother, while they were at their grandparents, his younger brother was said to be quite restless and couldn't really sleep. So their mom, Jennifer, ended up taking Max home around 11:30 in the evening. And so Nathan stayed at the house with his grandparents. The following morning, though, on June 30th of 2014, Jennifer ended up calling Catherine or the house, but there was no one that picked up. So when she returned to the Licknesses' home to pick up Nathan, she was ultimately met with a horribly bloody scene throughout the house, and so she called 911. So when she got in, she recalls seeing blood like everywhere,
Oh.
just
Oh my
on the
gosh.
walls, on furniture, in the bedroom, inside rooms, like yeah. It was just
Wow.
not the scene you would want to walk into ever, but also
Mm,
not when you go to pick up your 5-year-old son.
yeah.
Yeah. So scary. And the grandparents lived in Calgary at this time?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
So an Amber Alert was issued that day because Alvin, Catherine, and Nathan were nowhere to be found. They weren't actually at
Oh.
the residence. So at this point, it was a missing persons case. Because of kind of the scene that was found and the fact that they were gone, they didn't know where they were. This ensued, like a major investigation ensued after this. And honestly, hundreds of police officers worked this case.
Wow.
Um, I read upwards of 250 to 300 officers worked this case, and
Wow.
they received close to, if not more than 1,300 tips from the public regarding this case. So
Crazy.
it was huge for the time. But a forensic pathologist was brought to the scene on July 2nd, and she was accompanied by a bloodstain analysis expert. And it was in the pathologist's opinion, based on kind of the observations of the blood loss or the blood seen throughout the home, that it was actually possible that one or more of the victims, while maybe having been seriously injured, was still perhaps alive. And so this
Oh.
Okay.
continued to stay as a missing persons case. And at the time, no homicide was believed to have happened. So there was kind of also that time crunch because 2 adults and a child were missing, that this investigation needs to happen to be able to find them safely and bring them
Hmm.
home. That being said, though, the pathologist was also concerned about the possibility of head injuries due to the amount of blood found on the headboards of the beds in both the main and spare bedrooms. A small bloody handprint was also found a few feet from one of the doors, and more than one set of bloody footprints were also observed in the residence. And so, because of this, it was initially thought that there may be more than one perpetrator. So, they thought there were multiple people at play and that it was a missing persons case. So, throughout their investigation, the Calgary Police Service also noted and or determined that the wireless router at the Licknesses' home was unplugged at some point after 2:10 a.m. on June 30th. And these routers can be helpful in investigations because they can identify, cell phones or other wireless devices connected to them, and so, because of the disconnect, it was believed to have been intentionally unplugged to try and avoid detection of maybe other devices accidentally connecting to the, or not accidentally, but like connecting to the device and then,
Mm.
giving police information about that person.
So does that mean it's someone who had previously been in their house and connected to this Wi-Fi router?
It's possible.
Like I feel like with most routers you have to like to intentionally connect to them, you know?
Hmm. So I don't know if they had previously connected or if it was a belief that being within the vicinity, some form of interplay was available on the data inside, but
Okay.
it did seem to the investigators that it was intentionally done, and kind of going off of your point, maybe someone familiar with the family, either having been there before or understanding, where the router is, all of these things.
Okay.
Kind of gave them a bit more insight into the possibility of what happened or who was at play.
Hmm.
But in an interview with the police, Alvin's son, Alan, he actually named his wife's brother, Douglas Garland, as a potential enemy of his father. So I
Oh,
guess back in
interesting.
2006, 2007, Alvin, so Alan's father and an individual missing at the moment, Alvin and Garland had a business relationship with each other. So Alvin was an executive of an oil and gas company, and Garland had been hired on to assist in engineering kind of a technology for the company, or like drilling pumps or some form of technology to assist with the company. According to Allen, though, his father had patented a drill pump but didn't give any credit to Garland, who claimed to have contributed significantly to the creation of this pump. Garland supposedly really felt cheated by this, and it ultimately led to a falling out of that business relationship. And over the years, Alvin just stopped talking to him because of how Garland was kind of approaching the situation. Alvin just thought it was best to cut ties and just call it where it was. And Allen ended up believing Garland continued to remain angry about the situation and held a grudge for the years afterwards. And all of that to say, the patented pump never made any money. Like, there was no economical gain to it. So I don't know if it was just a grudge of not having his name associated to it and kind of having an accomplishment recognized. But from the sounds of it, there was no material gain from that patent or that pump anyways.
So was Garland the brother of the mom of these two boys?
No, so Alvin's from a different marriage. So, sorry, Allen. So Alvin had Allen in a separate marriage. So
Okay.
he's the son of Alvin and a different woman. And then I don't think it's maybe it's Jennifer, but Jennifer, and I believe Ron is her husband's name. One of them, their parents are Alvin and Catherine, and so then Nathan is the child of Jennifer. So Nathan
Okay.
isn't the son of Alan; he's just kind of the nephew.
Okay.
The nephew, yeah. But Allen, the names are so intertwined in my brain. Alan's wife is Patty Garland. So whether it be common law marriage or married, his wife
Right.
is Patty Garland, who is the sister of Douglas Garland.
Okay, yeah.
So like by marriage, they're kind of all connected. But aside from that, not really.
Okay.
So throughout the course of the investigation too, CCTV footage was gathered from 50 to 60 neighboring homes and businesses, many of which had showed an older model green Ford F-150 pickup truck, and it was seen driving on the Licknesses Street at around 3:10 a.m. on June 30th. Investigators also noted that the truck had parked on the street and a shadowy figure was seen walking toward the victim's home in some of the footage gathered. About 90 minutes later, just before 5:30 a.m., there's further CCTV footage that shows a person getting back into the pickup truck and driving a route. So they were able to kind of follow the route the truck took based on the CCTV footage locations gathered. And the route led out of Calgary and toward Airdrie, which is a town about 30 minutes north.
I will say Airdrie is not 30 minutes north of Calgary. It is
It's
5.
not?
No.
5? Wait,
They're
okay,
like
thank you.
touching.
Calgary.
It could
Google
be 30
Maps
minutes from
lied.
where they were in Calgary, but Airdrie is like touching Calgary.
Okay. Google Maps lies. Maybe
From downtown Calgary, yes,
center
30
of
minutes.
Calgary. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
It's showing like center of Calgary to Airdrie, but yes.
Yes.
Thank you for clarifying that because they are like next to each other.
Yeah, they're like Halifax and Dartmouth, like together.
Right beside. Okay, yeah. So realistically, yeah, because you on a busy traffic day to get to downtown Halifax from Dartmouth,
Yeah.
can take you 30 minutes or longer, but yes, they are neighboring towns.
Yes.
Something that was notable that the bed of the truck appeared to be empty in the CCTV footage before 5 a.m., so closer to like the 3 a.m. mark. But it was noted that something quote unquote large and white was in the bed of the truck after leaving the victim street, so on the later CCTV footage that was picked up. But I have a link in the presentation notes showing kind of the differences between the two.
Okay, I do want to see them.
Oh, interesting. And it was taken by
Um,
the same camera as
restaurant
well. So
too.
that's
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
So, excuse me. Yeah. So just after, and this is after the next part too. So they were then able to follow the truck coming back from the direction of Airdrie into kind of Calgary around 7:20 in the morning, 7:30. They passed, the truck was seen to pass the Lignis's residence and or the street that they lived on. And then they continued to a location where Garland is said to have had weekly appointments with a psychiatrist. So this time in the CCTV footage, though, bed of the truck was empty once more. So they were able to
Hmm.
kind of see 3:20, 3:30 a.m. empty bed of truck, 5:30 a.m. something white in the back of the truck, 7:30 a.m. back in the city, nothing else in the bed of the truck.
Crazy.
Yeah. So, not great. From what it seems like, something was transported. At the time, though, they are unsure as to what. So, images of the green truck were released to the public, and police quickly received tips from the public and family members. So, one tip did indicate that a truck matching the one in CCTV photos was spotted at a recycling depot in Airdrie, and the description the caller gave to the driver did resemble Douglas Garland. And another tip was that the truck was identified at a car wash in Airdrie, and the owner or whoever was driving the truck had been power washing the truck the day after Elvin, Catherine, and Nathan had disappeared.
Interesting. That's suspicious.
Just a little bit. And also Patty Garland. So this is Alan's wife and Douglas Garland's sister. She recognized the truck as similar to the one that her brother almost exclusively drove. I think it was a family truck, but she does recall saying it's basically Douglas Garland's truck because he drives it everywhere. So she had sent a photo to her husband, Alan, and then Alan forwarded this to the police because I think he was kind of a key contact with the police at the time. Something that was noted was that unique rust marks were identified in the CCTV images as similar to those on the ones of the photos that Patty provided the cops as well. And they were through the CCTV footage. I guess there was like a more kind of prominent identifiable feature on the truck that allowed them to kind of trace it through all the CCTV footage and say it was the same truck. And I believe it was a box of some sort, a red box or red light. I can't quite remember, but there was enough at the time to say it's likely this truck is the same in all of these situations or circumstances.
It's so, we might have to cut this out, but it's so funny to me that his truck was identified using rust marks.
Yeah.
Like-
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it was the truck alone felt pretty identifiable because it was like an
Mhm.
old 80s, 90s forest green F-150, which you don't often see.
Yeah.
So that was pretty distinguishable. But then you add in rust marks and certain areas that are rusted out. You know, not every truck is going to have rust in the exact same
Mhm.
spot. So that was also kind of an identifiable feature. But yeah, so in addition to all of this, Alan did tell the police that back in December of 2013, so kind of a couple months prior, Garland supposedly believed that Alvin had come onto his farm and stolen some of his property. I think this was
Oh.
kind of an unwarranted belief, but he was very suspicious that Alan had stolen something from him. And I don't know if this heightened any for like previous grudges or whatever ill will. But he does remember Garland sharing the idea that Alvin had stolen something. I don't know
Okay.
what he would have stolen, but that was a belief he had at the time. Because of all of this with the truck and kind of the information received from Alan, Garland soon became a person of interest to the police. Since he was living, though, with his parents on their farm at the time in Airdrie, or in and around the Airdrie area, it fell under RCMP jurisdiction, not Calgary police jurisdiction. So they ended up having to notify the Airdrie detachment of RCMP, and really not long after, the Calgary police tactical surveillance team was in place, and an RCMP emergency response team was assembling at that time for a hostage rescue mission because of the idea that they were all still alive at this point, and nothing kind of confirmed that someone was dead. It was still to them the chance that they were all alive.
Yeah.
It's fair. Might as well treat it that way if there's any
And
chance of them being alive.
exactly, until you know otherwise, it's an urgent enough situation to try and get this 5-year-old and his grandparents back safely. So orders were given for RCMP to follow Garland if he had left the farm alone, but they were also told to stop him and detain him if he was seen to have a passenger with him, given at the time it was believed that maybe there was more than one perpetrator at hand. This is kind of where I'm a bit unclear on the order of events, as some sources say he was arrested at a traffic stop beforehand, but also the court documents that I read mentioned otherwise. And the court documents had said that the Calgary police snipers that were surveying Garland, they incorrectly reported to the RCMP that he had a passenger. And so, acting on this information and the previous orders they were given, RCMP did stop and detain Garland, and a high risk takedown was conducted with weapons drawn. And it was only after they had him in kind of custody and stopped that they learned that he was alone in the truck and there was no one with him.
Oh.
Right.
So take that as you will. Not a good kind of start to it, but they had him detained at this point, I guess.
Yeah.
So he was read his rights. He was given the standard police caution, but he was placed only under investigative detention. He was not arrested and charged with anything at this time, and he was taken to the Calgary police station. At this time, his truck was also seized, and while in detention, but before any formal arrests were made, Garland's shoes were seized by the police, which is kind of important later, but not at the moment. So keep that tidbit in mind.
Okay. I'm assuming it's probably to compare to the bloody footprints.
Nice. Yeah. So the shoes are important, but Garland and his legal team were not happy that they were seized prior to any arrests being made. And there was kind of like no reason to take them at that time.
Right.
While he was detained, though, it was also noted that he had some kind of cuts over his body. So he had a cut on his thumb, an abrasion below his nose. He had another one on the top of his head, kind of on his forehead. And he also had a large bruise on the outside of his knee, which kind of raised red flags for investigators. And following his detention on July 4th, I believe it was, the RCMP emergency response team was instructed to search the Garland farm, but they did not have a warrant. And this was on the basis that there could be individuals in medical distress on the property. So they still believed that it was a missing persons case. And acting on the urgency of that, they were just going to search for living or dead bodies, not for like evidence or objects, any of that sort. So while at the property and on the farm, the RCMP noted a smoldering burn barrel outside of a building on the farm. And within the greenhouse, they saw that the floor in the greenhouse looked kind of wet and it appeared to have like recently been cleaned. And there were what looked to be fresh kind of cut marks grooved into the floor of the greenhouse. Officers also entered a barn on the property and noticed a black duffel bag in plain view. That being said, the duffel bag was closed, but an officer took the liberty to open it and take a look inside. And so when they did open the bag, they saw 3 pairs of handcuffs, a knife in a sheath, and a leather baton at this point.
That's not good.
Keep in mind, this is all without a warrant. So
Oh no.
Garland's legal team had some fun, I will say, but ultimately it didn't really pay off. But yeah, this was all without a warrant. They didn't touch it, and like, to be fair, from what I read, the officer basically was like, "Ooh, I'm gonna leave that. I can't seize it. We're just gonna leave it
It's
as
fair.
is until we have a warrant, and then we can go in and like look and search and whatever."
Right, because they were just searching for bodies, not for evidence.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
A police service dog was also brought in and used by the RCMP, and this was to detect any human biological material. While no material was found and no bodies were found, the dog did seem to indicate by a barn, and this was the same barn that the black duffel bags was found in. So while nothing and no bodies were physically found, this did stand out to investigators to say, hey, maybe something did happen here, and obviously the dog's detecting something.
Yeah.
So they left after searching for about 2 hours between like 6:30, 8:30 p.m., I want to say, and they ended up securing the perimeter of the property until they could obtain a proper search warrant at this time. And timing again isn't 100% clear based on like sources that I've read in the court documents, but just before 11 p.m. on July 4th, Garland was arrested for kidnapping. And then around an hour later, he ended up being arrested for murder. And so this was like in the early hours between midnight 12:30 of July 5th. And I'm not 100% concrete on this because the warrant to search and seize evidence was signed at 3:30 a.m. on July 5th. So this would have been almost like 3.5 hours after he was arrested for murder, which I'm not saying is impossible. It's just the order of the events. You would think, you'd get the search warrant, search, find things, and then arrest and charge based on kind of what was seen.
Yeah.
That's fair.
It felt like very circumstantial at the moment that the arrest was made on. But again, not saying that's impossible. I know arrests are made with no evidence, and then they just use that time in custody to find evidence. So that's very well what could be happening here. But during their search with the proper search warrant, over 1,400 pieces of evidence were actually seized and presented as exhibits in court. And this
Wow.
included DNA from all 3 victims found in the burn barrel and or on items, and these items included a meat hook and a meat saw.
Oh,
That's alarming.
Yeah.
gross.
Yep. So inside the Garland home, 3 computers were also found, along with a computer hard drive that was hidden up in the rafters of the basement. Digital forensic investigators examined the evidence on the computers and the hard drive, and they found emails between Alvin and Garland that were sent around 2007. And on the hard drive, there were multiple folders located. One titled Impact. This had content related to impact type weapons. Another called Lockpicking or Locksmithing, kind of varied on the source. And this included details on lockpicking, security systems, alarms, and restraints.
Yikes.
Yeah, and notably with that, a file with the user manual for the same lock that was on the Lickness's door was also found on that hard drive, which was believed to have been
Oh,
accessed between June 22nd and 24th of 2014. So this would have been about 6 to 8 days prior to their disappearance.
that's not good.
Yeah. Other folders included patents, Lickness, and Gore, the last
Oh,
of which was accessed around July 1st of 2014 and contained about 87 photos. And there were also folders that contained videos of adult women wearing only diapers and content relating to fetish pornography.
Ew.
okay.
Yeah. So,
That's
It's a
interesting.
whole other layer I really wasn't expecting.
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
So you can kind of get an idea of what the user of this computer was fascinated in and interested in.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
There was also content that seemed to be kind of like computer surveillance of Alvin and Catherine over several months. This included like searching, addresses, searching about them, searching about the estate sale that they held prior to their disappearance. So it seemed like whoever was on this computer had information pertaining to the dates and times of this estate sale as well.
Hmm.
2 documents on DNA removal were also found on the hard drive, and internet searches were identified to have been conducted, including quote unquote most painful torture, surgical autopsy kits and other tools, best butcher knives, how to kill without emotion, and the force needed for concussion, among others.
Those are all so incriminating.
Yeah.
Right. It makes me think back to like the Word documents that we've talked about in the past of just outlining an itinerary of what they were going to do to kill certain people. It's
Yeah.
just
Mhm.
your footprint is there. Like, no matter how hard you think or how much you think your internet data is gone, it's not really gone.
No.
Yeah.
But at the same time, don't save files and folders with all of this stuff, like very out and openly. One at all, but if you're going to save them, just to have them on your desktop or hard drive.
And labeled so aptly. Like, why couldn't you name it something that looks unrelated? Like recipes.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. The digital forensic investigators, they also found eBay searches for items including amputation knife, surgical dissecting instruments, post-mortem surgical autopsy set, gynecological instruments, and scalpels. One,
I would not
don't
want to be.
know if, secondhand items off of eBay on that.
Yeah.
Some stuff on eBay is new, is it not?
Some
Like it's not all
stuff,
secondhand.
I guess. I think I'm also like kind of have Kijiji in my mind, but
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if eBay would be my first choice to look at.
Yeah. It was big in 2014. I feel like.
Yeah, I agree.
Gross.
Further evidence
Yuck.
was found in the digital recycle bin as well. And this was multiple photos of Catherine and some of, or at least one of her and Alvin together. One of the digital forensic investigators testified that it was, in his opinion, Garland was the user of the computer. And I think a lot of this was because of the email exchanges. Douglas Garland was on the recipient or sender end of that email that was used. But there was also a second name kind of mixed throughout named Matthew, I want to say, Matthew something. And there were documents found with that name as well. So under cross-examination, he did admit the computer was not password protected. So in theory, anyone could have accessed it, which I guess raises some doubt in court, but I don't know.
Yeah, not enough doubt to really like call it like it's pretty damning.
Yeah.
And like he lives with his parents, and by the sounds of it, his parents didn't have any beef with anyone else.
Like, with the other information that we know regarding Garland and his connection or maybe dislike of Alvin, you can kind of connect the dots, but I can see how in a court of law, the defense was like, well, can we really be sure it was him? Like, how do we know it wasn't anyone else at the house? Who else was living at the house kind of thing?
True.
It wasn't just him in the house, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
That being said, though, in the house, they found forensic gear, including like booties, face masks, and what are called like the bunny suits, which are kind of like the full piece jumpers, whips, straitjacket, women's shoes, wigs, books titled Be Your Own Undertaker, How to Dispose of a Dead Body and Silent Death. Multiple tubes of dental anesthetic were found in a small fridge, and a bottle of chloroform.
He was very well prepared.
Yeah, that all of that, like I don't think anyone else was doing those computer searches. He seemed pretty into this stuff.
And go ahead.
The Be Your Own Undertaker, How to Dispose of a Dead Body feels like a book that should not have ever been published.
Right?
I
Like I
agree.
feel like that was published and they're like, okay, now make a list of everyone that buys it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Mhm.
Because there's no, like,
Also, why? Why are
yeah,
you making a book like that?
Yeah.
yikes.
And I will note too, they were able to find like receipts and footage showing Garland at, I want to say it was like Princess Auto and some other home hardware store, buying like meat grinders, saw blades, S hooks, those meat hooks.
Ew.
So he can be seen purchasing items that resemble those that were also found like in and around the barn as well, or the
Yeah.
Mhm.
farm, excuse me.
Were the women's shoes and blonde wigs attached to his mom at all, or were they completely separate?
That's what I don't know. And that's what I
Okay.
think kind of comes into the whole conversation of it wasn't just him at this house. Could
Mhm.
this be his mom? But with the women's shoes, I think they were the equivalent to like a size 13 men's,
Oh.
Oh
which are
no.
huge.
Yeah.
So I want to say it wasn't his
Ew.
mom.
That's
Dang, I was
fair.
really hoping that wouldn't be yet another layer to this case.
Yeah.
Okay.
And his parents and his sister also all testified in court kind of against him, talking about his grudge with Alvin.
Fuck.
So
Okay.
there's that. You could take that how you will. But yeah, there's that.
Okay, cool.
Um so not looking great. Given all of the information that we kind of know about Garland too, like for the Crown at least, it was like we ha- we have enough to kind of tie the computer searches to Garland at this point. Obviously, we can't physically trace that it was him conducting these searches, but for us, we're presenting it in a way that it was him.
Yeah.
Kind of out of dumb luck and coincidentally, which I find not funny. Funny is not the right descriptor in this term, but it's just one of those like, yeah, that makes sense. That is actually amazing. An aerial survey mapping plane that was contracted by the city of Airdrie actually flew over the Garland farm on July 1st and July 2nd of 2014, which is a day and 2 days after Alvin, Catherine, and Nathan went missing. And they had taken aerial photos of his farm on those days.
Oh no.
What
Yep.
a crazy coincidence.
Right? Like just pure dumb luck. Because obviously, like,
Yeah.
not part of the investigation. Police weren't up there taking photos. Like, it was quite literally just a completely separate thing. And they wanted like aerial mapping data of the town for whatever Airdrie wanted to do with it. I don't know. But um, yeah. So in the photographs from July 1st at about 9:30 a.m., what appears to be three bodies were seen in the images on the property, lying face down in the grass near the burn barrel that was found. It was two
Oh.
adults and what seemed to be a child kind of curled up along the side of one. Um, it was like 1.7, 1.9 meters for the adults. Like he was able, because of the mapping technology, like to get the height of these what seemed to be humans,
Mm-hmm.
um, and all of whom were wearing only diapers, apparently, in these
Oh.
images. So
Oh,
going
Oh.
I thought.
back to the searches and content saved of adult women wearing diapers, and notably, I forgot to mention this, adult diapers were found on the property from one of the like hospitals or something. I don't know, but they were
Right.
like
Oh.
they were found.
Yeah.
So, yeah, not great enough to
Um.
kind of piece it all together, but
Yeah. I thought they were like covered in sheets. I didn't realize they were wearing diapers.
yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Gross.
In those same photos, smoke coming from a burn barrel was also observed, along with a shadow of a person standing nearby.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so quite a bit was present in this photo. Um, and because it was a 2-day thing, and I don't think from my understanding, because if I had seen that, like if I had taken photos July 1st, I don't know what the process is like of, okay, we're going to upload down or we're going to download them, put them on a different server, and then just continue on. And then once we have all of the data, we're going to go through and piece it together.
Mhm.
Because by the sounds of it, they just carried on with their day. Like they didn't know or see that there were bodies. It was kind of after the fact.
Yeah, they might not have known
Um,
that that farm was like a farm of interest until after, and then they were like, "Oh, we mapped that. We should maybe look at those photos."
yeah, exactly. And I think like thousands of photos were taken too, right? So like
Oh
I don't
yeah.
think he's going to be going through the owner of this business to look at each individual photo. I'm sure there's a process of merging them together, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Because on the following day, when that pilot flew over the farm again, mapping the data again, photos of the same area um, show no bodies present. And where the bodies were the day before, all of the grass had been flattened down and was kind of like a brown color. So they were actually able to see kind of a before after within a day period because of this mapping imaging that was gathered. The forensic pathologist who initially was at the Lickness's house to say maybe, like, I don't believe people definitely died here. She ended up going to the Garland farm and she brought another expert with her and they examined the contents of the burn barrel. And within the burn barrel, bone fragments were found. However, she testified that they were severely brittle, charred, and couldn't confidently be identified as human remains given the circumstances. She did note that it would take about 2 hours at a crematorium to have burned the bodies, or to burn, sorry, human bodies just in general.
Right.
And while under cross examination, she said that the burned bone fragments could have been human. And if they were, she felt that they could have been those of a child under the age of 5.
Oh
Wow.
no.
So no bodies ultimately were found on the property. But given this information, it's believed that all 3 had been burned and tried to have been kind of erased.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, no formal discovery of their bodies were ever discovered. But after the trial, the judge did end up accepting the Crown's theory that the killing of Alvin, Catherine, and Nathan were both planned and deliberate, despite Nathan kind of being an accidental victim just caught in the middle of a tragic and senseless circumstance as a result of an impromptu sleepover with his grandparents, excuse me. So
That's so sad.
yeah, the judge and jury did believe that Douglas Garland had it out for Alvin and ultimately Catherine Lickness because of a long festering grudge, it seemed. And it was just very unfortunate that Nathan that evening spent the night and not wanting to have any witnesses, he ultimately was killed as well.
That's so sad.
I know. The judge was also satisfied that Alvin and Catherine were not dead when they left, as well as Nathan, I guess. The 3 of them were not dead when they left the residence in the back of the F 150 pickup truck, and that they were all transported to the Garland farm where they were subsequently killed.
Hmm.
He was also satisfied on evidence and jury finding that Nathan was injured but not killed during the initial violent struggle at the Lickness residence. So I don't know. Considering the chloroform found at the residence, this is me just piecing evidence together. None of this is fact or found,
Mhm.
but to me, it would make sense that the chloroform was involved in the transportation of the bodies to
Yeah.
prevent movement, whatever, as a means to transport them, I
Yeah.
guess.
Yeah. And even the
And
Google
then,
search, like how to give a concussion, just like
yeah,
knocking them out and then transporting them.
Mm-hmm.
yeah. And then,
And the blood on like the bedboards where like the pathologist said like they worry about head injury. Yeah, that would make sense.
Mhm.
Yeah. And the end of note too, like the handprint that was found was a very small handprint. So it was that of believed to be of Nathan, and
Right.
samples ended up coming back as having both, I believe, Alvin and Catherine's blood mixed in on that handprint.
Oh,
Um, so from what I understand, the judge kind of and jury was under the agreement of facts that Garland was like by force giving Nathan orders on what to do, obviously in that situation, and so had him kind of like walk out and do all of these things. I don't know. I don't know. Like
mhm.
it's so hard at that point too, just to have as a killer, if you're going to kill two adults that you've created this idea about being so mad at and who just like apparently ruined your life, to see a 5-year-old also there, why do you go through with it? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, are you not scoping it out? Like, was it just this is my last chance before they move, so I have to do something? Oh, sorry, it's a 5-year-old. I'm just gonna completely
Yeah, you're collateral.
compartmentalize, and it is what it is. I don't know. That's what I have a hard time kind of like wrapping my head around in this case.
Yeah. No, that's so sad. Like, just, I'm really stuck on, like, I can't imagine how scared he would have been. Like, to
Yeah.
watch that,
Yeah.
to experience that, no, that's awful.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just hard to see too. And then like some of the evidence and physical evidence that was found, it just kind of paints a story of not an amazing way to end a life.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
And I'm hoping, like, as horrific as this case is too, because you don't really know and not a lot is shared on the actual like details of the crime. I just hope that he killed Nathan fast. Like, and I
Yeah.
hope like all of them obviously didn't suffer, but from the sounds of it, it does seem like at least Alvin was made to suffer and or Catherine as
Hmm.
well.
Yeah.
But if a 5-year-old is in as essentially collateral at this moment, are
Hmm.
you still going to go through the same like
Yeah.
steps with a 5-year-old who has nothing to do with you and your
Hasn't
grudge?
done
I don't know.
anything.
Yeah. How
Yeah. I
twisted
don't
is this
know.
individual? Like, to what
Yeah.
lengths is he okay with going?
Yeah. And I don't know if it's just because like children are more victimless isn't the right word, but vulnerable, I guess, vulnerable
Mm-hmm.
victims,
Hmm.
um, that it makes it more difficult. But I guess if you're in a mentality of these people are dying, maybe that's blurred. Maybe that's not something that's even thought of at
Yeah.
the time.
Yeah, he's just in a haze.
Yeah, exactly. So the judge was also satisfied that Garland's plan to kill Alvin was in part and or fully due to a petty grudge harbored over many years. So that was believed to kind of be the motivation behind it, sorry. And Dennis and Douglas Garland was found guilty on February 16th of 2017 on 3 counts of first-degree murder involving the deaths of Alvin, Catherine, and Nathan on or about June 30th, 2014.
It's
So
crazy that that was all over a grudge that happened 10 years prior to this
prior,
trial.
yep,
Over a patent that never made any money.
Yeah.
yeah, which just like
Wild.
why, why I don't know. But various members of the Lickness and O'Brien families provided victim impact statements during the sentencing hearing. And I think it was very evident to the jurors and the judge and everyone that watched. I don't know if watched is the right term, but was there listening to the trial. I guess the full courthouse was full, plus the secondary overflow court was full to watch the
Oh wow.
proceedings. So it like impacted the community heavily.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was
Um,
a big deal. Like, I remember seeing it on the news. Like,
yeah,
especially, I remember seeing a lot of it before they were found. I didn't see much of it in 2017, but
yeah,
right when it was happening, like, everyone knew, everyone was talking about it. Everyone still talks about it now. Like, when I tell people I have a forensic podcasts are like, have you covered this kid's case yet? No, not yet.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, they're like, it's crazy.
Yeah. So it definitely, not to say like all different cases don't have the same impact, but I think given the circumstances and just the unfortunate reality that a 5-year-old was in the mix and maybe shouldn't have been, I think really gripped the community as well.
Mm-hmm.
Garland was sentenced to life imprisonment without the eligibility of parole for 25 years on all 3 counts, with parole ineligibility for counts 2 and 3 to be served consecutively to count 1. So he had a parole ineligibility of essentially 75 years, which would make him 120, 130 or something by the end of his parole ineligibility.
Damn.
So like,
He's not
yeah,
getting
in some of the court cases, they were like, really counts 2 and 3 to be to serve doesn't really matter, but count 1 and count 2 does matter because he's either going to be out while he's in his 60s, 70s, or he's going to be out when he's over 100 kind of thing.
How old was he?
Honestly, I don't even know. I really did not care to look into his life or who he, like, him as a human.
Yeah.
That's fair.
And because the parole ineligibility would have started on the date of his arrest, I guess that's how it works. He was 57 when the court heard the case in 2017, or when he was sentenced in 2017. He's had to serve the minimum 25 years, ineligibility period, of 25 years. And assuming that he were to serve 3, because this was prior to his sentencing, he would be 79 years of age before becoming eligible to seek parole if he was just given the 25.
Oh, okay.
So if they were to be served concurrently,
yep.
he in theory could be 79 and released.
Yeah.
Wow.
On the other hand, if it was 50 to 75 years, kind of that decision as to whether consecutive, some concurrent, some not. If he was to serve 50, he would be eligible for parole in 2064, and he would be 104 years. And if he was to serve 75, an eligibility period, he would be eligible for parole in 2089, and he would be 129 years of age.
Damn. So yeah, we're just covering our bases, not letting him out then.
Yeah.
Which is fair.
Yeah. So, given the circumstances of the offense and like the victim impact statement, the previous case law, position of the Crown and the defense, the judge did find that consecutive was the best choice in this case.
Yeah.
The defense was interesting in the sense that no actual physical DNA of Garland's was found like in the Lickness residence on any of the things. So like he did a very, I guess because he's proven guilty, but he did a very good job of removing himself from the situation. So that's kind of what the defense latched onto and was saying, well, all of this digital evidence we have could be anyone because it's not password protected. You know, all of his DNA is not anywhere. It's a shared vehicle. It's a shared home. All of these things.
Right.
But ultimately, nothing was, maybe not nothing because I don't know every detail of the case, but there was nothing, if not any minor things to link other Garland members to everything that happened.
Right.
So yeah, ultimately convicted, life sentence without possibility of parole for 75 years. He did try to appeal both his conviction and sentence. He wasn't arguing that he killed the 3 of them. He was arguing kind of the judges allowing certain evidence into court, such as the truck, the duffel bag, his shoes that were all kind of seized prior or unlawfully.
Right.
And another thing that he was, in terms of his sentencing, a lot of it had to do with a possible bias portrayed by the judge. So, because of the gruesome circumstances of the case, on occasion, I think it was like only 3 occasions though, the judge did kind of turn to the jury and be like, what we're presenting is gruesome. Please
Right.
be aware and like take caution, all of these things. So, like, I think Garland's defense or argument was that swayed the jury into believing it was worse than it was, or like,
I would
I don't
argue
know.
it was bad.
I
don't
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think he was just grasping at straws, and like he really tried pulling at nothing, and the judges on the appeal committee were basically like, what are you doing? No.
Yeah.
So both appeals were dismissed. Thankfully, so he is still in jail.
Yeah.
But that is kind of all of that I have about the crime. I do have some information on digital forensics because I think at least in this case, that was a big proponent as to piecing the case together and what I wouldn't say was the nail in the coffin of the case, but everything that was found digitally corroborated with physical evidence that was found in the kind of circumstances of the case, and it was used against Garland, I will say.
Yeah.
So digital forensics, just briefly, is a branch of forensic science, obviously, but it does focus on identifying, acquiring, processing, analyzing, and reporting on electronically stored data. And so the main goal is to kind of extract this data from devices or from electronic evidence, process it into like material tangible evidence that can be consumed by kind of not the average digital whiz, I will say, and then be presented for prosecution. Typically is for like criminal civil cases. So it can help, obviously, in this case with criminal as well as civil investigations, but digital forensics can also be used to investigate cyber crimes, which is really interesting. And so cybersecurity teams will often and do use digital forensics to identify, like cyber criminals behind malware attacks. Whereas law enforcement, they may use digital forensics to analyze data gathered at crime scenes or whatever evidence is gathered in the trial or in the investigation of a murder case.
Yeah.
And so digital evidence, obviously in today's world, is kind of everywhere. I don't think
Yeah.
unless you're off grid in a cabin with nothing, there's some form of digital evidence that can be used. And so it can be used in investigations and legal proceedings for data theft and network breaches, like I kind of previously mentioned, so like malware attacks too. It can be used to kind of understand how a breach happened and maybe even who the attackers were. So for this, it kind of makes me think of the Nova Scotia Power data breach that happened. And so whether I would think digital forensics is being employed, hopefully is being used to kind of figure out how that happened, who may have been involved, that kind of thing. It can be used for online fraud and identity theft cases. So understanding kind of the impact on breaches of organizations, breaches of their customers. So not quite the same of Nova Scotia Power, but that breach of data. I think identity theft too, to kind of compare how data is portrayed and used in what jurisdiction. So like if someone steals my identity, but all of my information and physical data and electronic data places me in Canada, well, why is my data also being used in like Europe, same day, same time,
Yeah.
same, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Digital forensics can also be used for violent crimes like burglary, assault, and murder to capture digital evidence on phones, cars, other devices in the vicinity of the crime, as well as white collar crimes. So it can be used to collect evidence that can help identify and prosecute crimes like corporate fraud, embezzlement, and or extortion, which is pretty neat.
Mm-hmm.
And it first kind of surfaced in the early 1980s with the rise of personal computers, and it really kind of gained more prominence in the 1990s.
That
And it
makes
wasn't until the
sense. As
yeah,
technology increases, so does so does the amount of digital forensics.
exactly. And it wasn't until the early 21st century that countries kind of formalized their digital forensic policies, because obviously, like, if it's being used in a court of law, you need to have a level of standardization that holds up in court. So you need to have a chain of custody. You have to be able to ensure that the data isn't altered in some way
Mm-hmm.
by the investigators or folks after the fact. And I think it was in like the early 2000s, obviously, like a rise in computer crimes was seen with the rise and advancement of technologies. And I had read, I forget what the actual number is, but within the next 10, 20 years, the openings and jobs available for digital forensics, is like projected to skyrocket, obviously,
Well, I can
Yeah.
because
imagine with like AI being so big now, like, and we don't have safeguards about that yet. I can imagine that's gonna turn into a whole other thing.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
100%.
100%.
Jinx. Um yeah, it's as technology progresses, obviously there's going to be a need for the science and investigative processes to also advance alongside it. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and if there's more volume, well, you're going to need more people to analyze that volume. So the general, I would say, investigation process with this is very similar to kind of every other process, but you have your data collection, you have your examination, your analysis, and then reporting. So to collect data, you're preserving the integrity. Forensic duplicates are actually, in theory, should be created for every data worked on or examined. And so after that data is duplicated, the original data is secured, and then it's the investigations conducted on that copied evidence. And this just avoids tampering. You can see what changes are made and whatnot,
Yeah.
which I think,
That's a
one,
smart idea.
great. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I'd be curious. I mean, I guess if any tampering's done prior to duplication, you would see that in the duplicated data as well, like the date and time of it. So you would know if proper chain of custody stuff was ensued, like, well, police had it at the time. So that tampering or change is kind of the police doing it.
Yeah.
But in theory, perfect world, data's preserved, copies made, copy is investigated, analyzed. And so the examination is just the recovery of from different sources. So whether it be web browser histories, chat logs, remote storage devices, whether it be deleted data. So in like Garland's case, they had photos in his like digital recycle bin that he, I guess, tried to delete but didn't properly formally delete. And even when deleted, it's still there.
I'm so uneducated in all things like technology because it blows my mind that someone could duplicate my computer and see everything I've done on it for like the entire time I've owned it. And I
Mhm.
just don't understand like how and where is that data stored? Like
Yeah,
it
because there's so
it
many files that I'm like, I really need this file and I cannot find it, but I know it's floating around somewhere.
yeah,
Yeah.
and they're just like, I'll just duplicate your whole computer and go through everything, like see your chat logs, any of your storage devices that you've ever plugged into this, like everything you've deleted from your computer. I'm like, how can we do that?
I agree. And that's why I preface at the very beginning, very surface level. I do not have any competency when it comes to proper computer and like digital literacy, because I have my main folders on my computer and I stick with those main folders. If you had me like try and find something related to Microsoft or Windows, that's going to be a Google question, and that's going to be
Exactly.
something you can see.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think like, and I don't, to be honest, I don't know the extent of what's visible, but from the sound of it is basically like everything. And everything's so
Mhm.
cloud based now too, is like that
Mhm.
data's somewhere.
Yeah. It
But
is incredibly lucky that this is a form of evidence that we are able to duplicate like
yeah,
that. Like, I think in so many cases it would have been so handy if we were able to duplicate the DNA that we had and then save the original and
yeah,
use the copy. Like, that would have been so nice.
yeah, I agree. So definitely some pros in that case too. And it makes me think too, like the different sources of data too, the breadth of that is insane, because there was a case in Nova Scotia. I think it was the one we sat in university at the trial. They were talking
Mhm.
about like cellular tower pings and like
Yeah.
kind of being able to track them that way, and like text messaging, and despite deleting text messaging, well, those still exist. So like all of that data was still available to them despite
Mhm.
the user either thinking it was gone or not realizing that that data was being created at the time.
Yeah. Well, even just the idea of if it's the same case where he's like, yeah, I dropped my phone and when I picked it up, someone had like put a bug on it. So they were able to see everything that I'd done. And I was like, it's crazy that that happened so quickly and that
Yeah.
that's even something people can do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like real time track usage of a device from a different device.
Yeah.
Oh, technology
Crazy.
is scary.
So
Yeah, I
scary.
agree.
That's a doom wormhole we don't need to fall down into. But yeah, so data will then be analyzed using different methodologies and tools that have been kind of developed over the years. And this helps uncover hidden data and analyze what's discovered. Afterwards, I think this is kind of the same with every sort of evidence found, but it's just a report. There's a formal report written that kind of outlines the analysis conducted by any of the digital forensic investigators. For cybercrimes, these reports may include recommendations for fixing vulnerabilities to prevent future cyber incidences, but it's just outlining what was found, what information may relate to other things. Just your standard kind of science report or finding report. Just briefly, too, there are different branches of digital forensics. It's not really like everything falls into one. And I would say this is because of how large technology has become. Someone who may be super savvy in mobile device forensics, that's one of them, looking at smartphones, tablets, they may not have the same understanding of like databases and how like metadata works in that sense, which rightfully so. And I can see how this would expand the need for more investigators in digital forensics in the future.
Hmm.
Um, but there is computer forensics or cyber forensics, and I think this is often used interchangeably with digital forensics, but they're not quite the same because computer forensics does fall under digital forensics. And this just is evidence from computing devices and digital storage evidence. Mobile device forensics, like I said, smartphone tablets, database forensics, looking at databases and relevant or related metadata. And I guess this one's used often with data breaches and cybercrimes. You have network forensics, and this is data found in computer network traffic. So, this is web browsing, communication between devices, and this is usually proactive because I guess network data is just gone once transmitted.
Oh,
Someone wants to
This
okay.
is
educate us on that.
so Just
right? Over, yeah. Very high level. If you're lost, so are we. It's fine. Someone else can educate us. I just thought I'd throw it in because digital forensics and people have requested more forensics. So
Yeah,
I'm
I just
giving
think
our
it's funny that
listeners what they
everything's
want.
like we track everything. You like we can see everything, and then network forensics are like, yeah, well, once
Well,
it's transmitted, it's gone. So like,
yeah,
I'm like,
We can't
how do
track
you know what's
everything.
different? Like,
yeah. Yeah. So that's fun. Um, file system forensics. This is data found in files and folders stored on endpoint devices. So these are like laptops, desktops, mobile phones, and servers. So I feel like file forensics, computer forensics were kind of the main uses in Douglas Garland's case. Like that to me,
yeah,
in my limited knowledge of digital forensics and just the world of computers, that makes sense for what we talked about in terms of evidence found.
yeah.
Mhm.
So
And
far,
you'll
file system forensics makes the most sense to me.
yeah,
Yeah.
you go into a file on a computer and it tells you what's there.
Yeah, but I was like,
Like
I can
when
click properties. I can do that.
yeah,
I can see the
yeah.
information that's on this.
When it was created, when it was accessed, all that fun stuff.
I see them make a
Um,
copy. Like,
yeah, yeah. And then there's also memory forensics, which is digital data found in a device's random access memory, which is also known as RAM.
I had no idea
So
that's what RAM stood for.
yeah, the more you
mhm.
know. I knew RAM was a thing. I knew it was some form of memory. Do I
Yeah.
know how it applies to my operating of my computer? Absolutely not.
You're not a chance.
Did I build a PC? Yeah. Do I know anything that I did to it? No. I
No.
followed steps. I bought pieces that someone said, you should buy these. Computers need them. And I said, okay.
Yeah, perfect.
I was
Perfect.
in
I
the
will plug
same
it in.
boat.
Yep.
Yeah.
I will plug it in here and hope for the best.
Yeah, if it doesn't work, I'm screwed.
I will Google.
Yep.
But yeah, that's a very, very high level on digital forensics. I would love, I don't know what our audience base is like, but please, if you are even just tech savvy and know about computers, please just like reach out because I would love to know like how it's stored, where it's stored, how long it's stored for, like I don't know. Just let's
Yeah.
have a conversation about it because I think
Yeah.
it's so fascinating and so relevant and so pertinent to like our era of technology
Oh, for
and will
sure.
be going forward. But I think the literacy, as per our conversations, is very lacking for I would say
Mhm.
the
Yeah.
general public and just like the knowledge of the information that's available around it may not be presented in the most accessible means. Because even as I was doing research about this, I'm like, okay, I see words on a screen and I like kind of
Mhm.
understand, but like I don't fully I don't fully understand the grasp and the depth of it, you know?
Yeah. No, I
Yeah. No, I
completely get
totally
that.
get that.
You're like, I
So
know what this word means, but I don't understand what it means with this word and in this
yeah,
sentence.
yeah,
Exactly.
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Super fun.
could just be a
Cool.
me thing, but yeah, digital forensics. Fun stuff.
So fun.
Yeah. Well, thank you
And
so
scary.
much. I I had literally no, like I've never heard of this case that you talked about today, and it's so cruel. So
Mhm.
and it happened so recently, like in the grand scheme of things, in
Yeah,
Mhm.
Canada. And
in
I'm
Canada.
honestly shocked that I haven't heard of this one, but thank you so much for telling us about it.
You're welcome.
It's very interesting. And also about digital forensics. We love learning new
Ish.
forensics.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ish.
Especially one that's going to be so huge over the
Yeah.
next like
Oh
portion
yeah,
of our
like
lives.
it definitely is just going to get bigger and bigger. Like I don't
Yeah.
ever see jobs in that field slowing down.
Yeah.
And I am excited to see how it progresses and like kind of the scope of it all moving forward, just whether it be in news or like the application in crimes. Cause I don't know
Yeah.
what the case law and the precedent set have been with digital forensics. So, with the emergence of like AI and all of these things, what does that mean in terms of the digital footprint and crimes that exist.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, exactly. Like
I don't
there's
know.
so many new avenues that this can be used because of how fast like we're advancing technology.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
fascinating.
Even just like with deepfakes and being able to tell what has been manipulated versus what is real is a scary road to go down.
Yeah, AI generated video and photos and deepfake stuff scares me. I'm
Especially with Google's newest one. What is it, Nana Banana Pro or something? Have you guys seen stuff of that?
Okay, I saw a
No.
post and I thought that was just brain rot terms and I didn't
No.
really understand it, so I just completely ignored it.
Yeah,
That's
I
real?
believe it. Yeah, so it's their new. Well, I could have fallen into the AI brain rot and I could be learning false information and just falling into that trap. But from my understanding, it is a new AI generated by Google. And because it's
Yep.
so new, other AI generated detectors can't detect the AI-ness of this.
Oh.
So images are being produced, one being related to the whole Donald Trump, Bill Clinton fiasco. You
Mhm.
can, if you Google Bubba and Donald Trump, I'm sure you'll find lots on it. So an image was released, date stamped 2004. Everyone put it through their like AI authenticators. Everyone was saying, all of them were saying, this is likely not AI. And it's because they haven't been trained to detect the newest AI available.
That's so frightening.
Yeah. But I
Oh.
guess, from my understanding, in theory, all AI images should be water stamped, even if it's just within the code. So there's, I think it's called
Yeah.
Synth
Right.
Pro, Synth ID. You can put an AI image of Nana Banana Pro into it, and it'll say, yes, it was created by Google. I think it's a Google ID. So, but it's only
Okay.
for that AI, from my understanding. But
Interesting.
I don't know, like, yeah, just not being able to
Crazy.
determine if it's AI or not, or like, I don't know. It's just technology. I will never understand, but
It's moving
I-
too fast and I can't keep up.
side note.
Yeah.
Side tangent.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I'm on
So
the
good
Google
luck.
Gemini like
Yeah.
overview for Nano Banana Pro. Which why would you name it that? Like that sounds
Right.
ridiculous. If this was around like April Fools, I'd be like, this is a joke. Like there's no way this is real.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
That's
good luck,
scary.
digital forensic investigators, with all of this.
That makes me sick
You
to my
got your job
stomach.
cut out for them.
Yeah.
Well, with all of that, I know that Journey has a little fun tidbit for us,
Mhm.
little thing unrelated to our episode. I don't want to keep calling them forensic corners because I know we don't always end up doing it forensic related. This is our fun little tidbit corner where
It could be a palate cleanser. It's our palate cleanser.
Yes, our
yeah,
palate
exactly.
cleanser.
Exactly.
So
So
this
yeah,
is kind
Journey,
of a
would you
palate cleanser.
Oh,
Sorry, that's
okay.
perfect. That's perfect.
Maybe not palate cleanser then.
Like it's kind of exciting. A Calgary woman who has been missing since 1966 was identified as a murder victim in a Nevada cold case
Oh,
in November
Really?
2025. Yeah.
wow.
They identified the remains of Anna Sylvia Just, who had been missing from Calgary since 1966. In the Nevada, her body was found in the Nevada desert in 1970 and was confirmed through DNA and genetic genealogy.
Wow.
That's so
So we're
cool.
seeing a big increase in genetic genealogy then, forensic.
Yeah.
I'm loving that. That's so cool.
So
I'm
when
I mean,
just
sad, but
yeah.
she's been identified, which is incredible.
yeah, it's just some closure for the families.
Exactly. She has
So
a
cuz like I'm curious as to whether it was the DNA gathered in the 70s in Nevada, kind of prior to the real emergence of DNA maybe, and then was it stored?
yeah. So she was last seen boarding a bus in Calgary August 17th, 1966. She was 29. 2 years later, Las Vegas police filed a missing person report for her after her belongings were found near the city of Henderson, Nevada.
Okay, so she was
How
linked to Nevada at the time. Okay.
yes.
Ah, okay, interesting.
Last year, the Calgary Police Service historical homicide team came across her case while
Cool.
investigating other unsolved files of missing women.
That's neat.
Yeah, they found that she was not listed in any local, national, or international databases.
Hmm.
So they contacted the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department and learned that they thought that she was believed to be a victim of a homicide, but her remains had never been located.
Hmm.
I don't know why they just immediately reached out to Las Vegas, or if they knew that that's where she was last reported missing, or like
Right. Probably if
something.
she, like, the missing persons report, they could find that she was there
Yeah.
last, possibly a good place to start.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they're like,
it's
she's
fair.
missing in Calgary and Nevada. Let's just go to Las Vegas. They looked for any living relatives of her who could provide a DNA sample. They located her sister, who was 97 years old, last November.
Wow.
Yeah, they collected her DNA before submitting it with her missing person profile to international databases, including the National Missing and Unidentified Person System.
Okay.
And then last month, Las Vegas police alerted CPS detectives that a match had been found.
That's
Wow.
amazing.
Is your
That's
sister, I don't know
crazy.
if you know this, but is your sister still alive to hear that news, or has she passed in the time frame? 97, you
Um,
don't really ever really know,
yeah.
like.
Yeah.
So they were able to provide her with some
Yes.
closure.
That's
Okay,
Um,
amazing.
good.
so they had there's a quote here that says, when members from the team go to speak to her sister, one of the first things she says to them is, "Are you here because of Sylvia?" Right inside the front door is a picture of her sister.
Aw,
So she was still, yeah,
I'm
still
so
looking.
happy
it's
that
very
she could get
thankful.
closure.
Not
Yeah,
probably the best closure, but at least she has an
No,
answer.
yeah, and
exactly.
so they
She's
were
not
able
wondering
to.
anymore.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. She asked, "Where's my sister lying? Where is she resting right now?" And they said that they were able to remove the Jane #2 or Jane Doe #2 from her headstone and give her an actual name from where she was buried in Las Vegas. So
Oh,
I guess
that
that is
makes me
really feel
happy.
good.
It's a
I
like
do love that.
bittersweet kind of ending.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's really sweet.
The historical homicide unit,
That
cool
sounds
as hell.
so cool.
I
I
want to
would
be a part of
love to
that.
get in on that.
Right? Me
Wow.
too.
Do they have any civilian
Wow.
positions? Just
I'll have
folks
to
who
look
like
into
to
that.
research?
Yeah,
We would
that's
be
so cool.
great for that.
Right?
Yeah. So apparently, 3 hikers spotted a purse handle sticking out of the ground. They found a plane ticket, a passport, and some human hair. Other
Oh.
personal effects were found close by, including clothing and a blood-stained cloth in
Hmm.
Las Vegas. And then they uncovered the skeleton of a woman more than 100 kilometers outside of the city. But after comparing it to medical files, they concluded it wasn't her.
Oh.
So,
I wonder how that conclusion came to be, and if they've
okay.
kind of, it was a confirmation bias, they maybe thought it was someone else going into it.
Yeah. So then they kind of didn't really do anything until 1970, when a group of kids playing in the desert found human remains in a shallow grave less than 2 kilometers from where her belongings were originally unearthed.
Oh.
Oh.
So the second body was her.
Oh.
And I think the
Oh.
first body is still unidentified,
Oh,
Oh,
wow.
wow.
which
Hmm.
is crazy.
Hopefully they identify that one as well. That'd be nice. We'll
Yeah.
see
And they
where
weren't,
time takes us.
yeah. Apparently, they weren't able to submit the unidentified remains for DNA testing until 2010.
Oh, wow. That's surprising.
Yeah.
Huh.
So it took them 30 years before they even were able to get it in a database or anything.
Hmm.
Crazy. Yeah, so that is something that has been kind of happening in and around Calgary. It's really interesting that so many, I guess, women are being identified. Like, I know it made me think of, not the same at all, but the Sharon Kinney lady who
Yeah.
was a serial killer in the States. And then after she died, they were able to
Yeah.
match her through genetic or forensic genetic genealogy, which
Yeah,
apparently is a
that's
big thing right now.
and it's just we've been talking about Calgary a lot lately.
A lot. Yeah. A lot of Canada, a lot of Calgary.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
had two to choose between, and I was like, I'll just go with this one.
Yeah.
Fair.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. That is yeah, that was really cool. I'm so glad that things like a historical homicide unit. I'm so glad that they exist because there's no reason
Hmm.
just because it happened so long ago we shouldn't still seek answers. Like
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've
Yeah.
seen lots about the Edmonton one. I didn't realize that Calgary also had one, but it's nice to hear that they do, and they're obviously solving crimes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I completely agree. Well, thank you both very much. This has been very insightful. I learned a lot today.
Woo.
With that said, our next topic is kind of veering a little bit away from true crime because I had a hyperfixation period and I needed to info dump on someone.
Yeah.
So our next topic is on tuberculosis.
Nice.
I'm very excited, and hopefully
too.
my hyperfixation can move on after this. So, yeah, so definitely keep an eye out for that if you're interested. We talk about kind of how the many ways in which it has shaped our world and the history of it. So, yeah, be on the lookout. If you liked this episode and you want to find more of us and stay up to date, you can find us on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, and TikTok, all at What the Forensics. Our website is whattheforensics.ca. It's your one-stop shop for everything forensics, What the Forensics. Occasionally we post little articles about like recent events, but it's where you're going to find our sources, our source images. You can listen to our episodes there if you're so inclined, or you can contact us there. Or if you want to reach out directly, you can email us at whattheforensics@gmail.com. We love hearing from you guys, whether it's a topic recommendation, you just want to talk about an episode we covered. Yeah, we just really love to hear from you. So this has been another episode of What the Forensics. We hope you learned something new, and we're excited to see you next time.
Bye! Just a reminder to everyone that we are not professionals in the forensic science field. We are just interested in forensics and want to share what we are learning with our listeners. We're trying to give you the most accurate information, but we are human and can make mistakes. Thank you so much for listening, and we hope to see you next week.